Hello everybody, how's it going? Screezilla here, and I hope you're all well, and you join me today for, well, a look at where you're going to start for the Japanese Navy. Yes, the Type 14. Now, sorry, the Type 4 T14, sorry, I did get that wrong. So we've got a 13.2mm machine gun. We've got 2 torpedoes, so, you know, that's good. Torpedoes are probably going to be good for us. This is realistic battle, by the way, just because I did not fancy my chances taking this out in arcade for the moment. So, as you can see, this boat is relatively small, and we've got bots in 1.0 matchup. I thought that wasn't going to happen. I thought it was after a certain threshold. So that's interesting to see. I think we're all having the same idea of rushing towards B. So yeah, the Type 14, or T14, Mitsubishi designed boat, basically a petrol engine in the back, about 900 odd horsepower. It was designed in sort of late 1943, I think, 1942, 1943. Was just basically designed as a motor torpedo boat because the Japanese were in dire need of a coastal motor torpedo boat. It does have the addition of depth charges if you so wish to use them, which can be useful. It has got a very strong 13.2mm machine gun on top. Yep. Good for all your anti-aircraft needs. Yeah, that's about it really. And it has 2 torpedoes. Torpedo-wise, if we look at the torpedoes, they're relatively good torpedoes. They'll do a good damage to most things. As you can see, we are going to die now. Because this boat is tiny, basically, and one of the biggest issues about this boat is the crew size, basically. And this is problematic when you're fighting anything that is good, because you don't really have any crew members. And the other issue is, well, have you seen my gun? Getting some good hits on this boat right now. However, the trouble is we only have a tiny clip. But we did get a kill, because we are awesome. And we are dead. So, you know, we managed to do something that round. Yeah, this boat is, it is really just, it's pretty pathetic. The best way I can describe it. It's pretty pathetic and useless. It's a reserve boat, of course. It is your reserve tier boat. But the trouble with this boat is the gun, basically. Whereas other reserve boats tend to have a relatively beefy gun on board, with at least a couple of rounds in reserve. This thing has a gun that will basically run out of bullets after 30 shots. because you only have a magazine of 30 shells. Which, you know, it can be enough. Definitely can be enough. But not really. As you can see, we're getting non-penetrations right now because this boat does have a 40mm hull aboard. If we can actually manage to take out his gunner, possibly, we might be okay. But unfortunately, a British boat has come into the action with twin Lewis guns. And that does mean that we are effectively boned. As you can see, we basically, you're not really to do much in game. We might get a kill there with sinking that guy, but yeah, it's a very, very bad boat for starting in. Unfortunately. Or should I say fortunately? The biggest issue is the clip size on your gun and just how exposed your gunner is. That's pretty much the main issue. Now we've got a plane up, so you can actually put the AA gun to use. Because that's what it was. It wasn't. It's not for attacking boats with. It's for attacking planes. It is an anti-air gun. It's reserve boats in Naval are pretty awful for everyone, but there are definitely advantages to every other nation. If you look at the things like the Russian and German reserve boats, the American reserve boat and the English reserve boat, is although the German and Russian reserve boats only have a single gun on board, they do have a little bit more punch to them because, well, they've got a single gun on board, but they've got the addition of having, well, a little bit more protection for their gunner and a slightly better gun, all in all. If we get strafed by an aeroplane in this, we are boned, as one would say. It's not in a very good position, and aircraft going in there. Just got to keep your eyes out for aircraft. There's another torpedo boat. I get a lucky hit on a torpedo, but I doubt it. Be nice though. We got a hit on the torpedo, but we didn't detonate it. However, the PR1124 there did just annihilate it. I'm pretty sure I've got a plane up somewhere. Try to spot. I think I can hear. What have we got going on around us? Let's have a look, see. Torpedoes are not bad. They're not a bad torpedo to actually use because they're relatively strong. But as I said, the biggest issue is literally this gun. It's just so weak against anything that you hit. It's effectively not worth using almost. As you can see here against this swordfish, we managed to get a couple of hits and it is going down at last. Has to take his engine out. That's some good part there. And now we're on fire, and we are going to die very quickly because an American patrol boat. And as you can see, the Higgins 81 is just so much better than what we've got because it just has more guns. It's pretty much that simple, really. Let's go for 1.5 second delay on that. They're very... Well, it's a very basic vehicle, and that's about it, really. That's about all you can say on this boat. Now, of course, the Japanese Navy does go more in depth, but I wanted to make a video on the starting boat, on the actual ship that you're going to get as a reserve when you do start playing this nation. It's, as I said, it's not very good. It's just that simple. It's... We've got 1 kill so far. We've done a little bit of damage. That's not to say it's absolutely worthless. It does have its merits, but if you come up against anything that is better than you, which is always a possibility, you're just gonna die a very, very miserable death. And it kind of takes away from the fun of naval content, I find. The actual any boat, or is that just a picture of that's a fake boat? Okay. There's a plane up. It's going down. PT boat's on fire. That guy should be dead. PT boat over there. But we are possibly going to ping or win. Ping just hit us very hard there. As you can see, good old Australian internet servers. The plane is just absolutely annihilating us, and well, that worked out quite well. I probably wouldn't have killed him if I'd actually just, you know, been flying normally. But yeah, anyway, that's pretty much the Japanese reserve boat. It's terrible. What did you expect? There will be a premium version coming out with a 25mm cannon on board. That's going to have about, I think it's a clip of 15 rounds on it. Currently you've got the 13.2, which has a clip of 30 rounds on it, and it's just that clip size. It's like Japanese, like the Japanese tanks when they came out. They're very memeable, as you could say. They're not really something that's going to do... They're not going to change the world or really make a big difference to the game. It's nice to have another nation added into the game, of course. Faster torpedoes. Research that because we want to get the armor piercing shell as quickly as possible, because honestly I find HE shells just don't do anything. You need armor piercing to really be able to do anything with any boats at all. So yeah, that's it. That's the Type T14. It's a boat with a good old strange caliber Japanese machine gun struck to the top of it. Comparing this to the other nations is really unfair because it is just woeful compared to them. The only other thing as well is I actually don't know what these are for. These horns. These they look like megaphones. I imagine there's something to do with cooling or getting airflow through the boat. I guess they're got a hole in the back to make it just a little bit cleaner and make sure the air's a little bit better. But yeah, other than that, really, that's it. This is the Japanese Navy for you. The Japanese Navy is really not great for starters. And it's kind of, as you go down, you're going to get better vehicles, of course, but there's not really anything I've seen so far that screams, wow, this is going to be amazing, other than the Furutaka and the Kako. There are a few interesting boats in there. The Chico class subchaser here, for instance, it's got the automatic artillery, I believe. There we go, yeah. It's got the twin automatic artillery and all the radar gubbins on board, as well as having a lot of available missiles, which of course aren't in game yet. But when they do get added, this will have it. It's also got a very big sonar buoy. So yeah, this is it really for Naval. I will actually look at the premiums eventually, at some stage. But as a starting boat, this thing is pretty dire. If we look at the British reserve boat, the MBT-1, sorry, the MTB-1. Don't know why I was called the MBT. Customization, that's what I wanted. The Motor Torpedo Boat 1 series. As you can see, this thing has a lot of Lewis guns on board, and that makes it really quite strong. The hull is a little bit thinner as well, so it's only 24mm, so it's a bit easier to go through. One of the strengths about the T14 is the fact it's actually got a 40mm hull, so it is pretty sturdy, and you do have trouble penning it. But if you get set on fire, or if you get set on fire, it's game over instantly. Or if you come up against a vehicle with a gun series that's actually powerful. As you can see, the AP belts, interestingly enough, are not strong enough to really do much damage to the Japanese torpedo boat. So it does kind of negate the British boat as well. And that's where things do start getting interesting. Now we know that the thickness of the armour, we know the actual guns that are going to affect it. But things like the G5 here are going to tear it apart with the 12.7mm Dushka machine gun. It's going to absolutely obliterate it. And also this thing is 4mm of steel. Not great, but it's fast, it's nimble, and it has got that very good gun on board, which is just very, very strong and powerful. Germany, of course, has the LS3, which is just hilarious sometimes, but the LS3 is, again, very small. If you get set on fire, you're over. It's also, of course, a steel hull, so again, it's very thin steel metal, so again, it's going to take a bit more damage from the actual bullets of the Japanese boat, but it's got a gun that's going to penetrate you and cause lots of trouble towards you as well, so you're not going to be able to really do much to fight it off if it gets close to you, because the gun's got a longer reserve time. And then you've got the good old Higgins, and the Higgins 81 has got two 50 cals on board that fire straight ahead, and that becomes problematic for you when you're fighting it, because this just has so much more firepower. It also has a 40mm wooden hull, so again, it's relatively tough to penetrate, and it's just it is the best reserve boat in my mind, just because of the firepower it has. But it's not terrible, but it's not good. That's the best thing I can say about it, really. The issue is, though, is you're going to get your crew taken out before you really have any chance of doing anything else, because one of the problems, of course, in Naval is it's just crew amount, and yeah, you're going to lose a lot of crew members very, very quickly in this boat, because, as you can see, all the crew are pretty much at this level, which has got 15mm of wood on the superstructure, which is not really going to protect you from anything. And of course you have the gunner standing out in the open. He dies pretty easily, and if you get gunner knocked out, then you're not able to do much. The only real big advantage, as I say, are the torpedoes, but they're also a disadvantage, because if you've got them on board, they're very likely to explode. The torpedoes themselves, though, are Japanese torpedoes, so they're actually very, very good torpedoes. So the torpedo is Type 44. It's 40 miles per hour in the water at 4 kilometers distance. You know, it's only a 1 meter depth though, so that's very, very useful. And it's got a lot of explosive mass, so this will be quite useful on hand. And where this little boat will actually come into its own is if you are fighting some large boats and get those torpedoes off, you can really cause some damage. Okay guys, I hope you've enjoyed this little video, some actual naval video content for a change. So that was nice to do. The Japanese Navy tech tree does look interesting. As I said, there are some really weird and interesting boats in there, but they are pretty much all looking terrible, which is always fun. The only thing I really have my eye on that's looking quite good is the CH-8, because it has these twin 40mm mounts on board, and if they are, which they look like quick firing, then this thing could be absolutely deadly, especially having a relatively sort of large mass. It means it's got quite a lot of crew on board, so you're not going to get your crew taken out. You also have a lot of 25mm auto cannons on board as well for defence. So this thing may actually be somewhat useful and prove to be actually a good boat. The CH2 variant has got a similar profile. It's a little bit slimmer. The issue is though that the gun is probably struggle firing straight forward. So, you know, they're going to have their advantages and disadvantages. This one also has a very poor AA defense as well, which is going to be a common theme down the Japanese line. The other boat I do want to see though is this AB type Pioneer, because these things look really, really interesting. They look like an old monitor. And I do actually wonder if they are a monitor class, because just talking about that, it does look like they could be. Originally, anyway, it has got some armour on board. Not very good armour, only 6mm at sort of, you know, 6mm all round, but it is armour nonetheless. And that makes it kind of interesting. It also has a lot of guns. It's got a 37mm and then 2 6.5mm guns. So it kind of looks like it could be quite fun. And then, of course, there's the slightly updated version, which has this lovely open wheelhouse design, and this of course has a 57mm on board. So again, going to be interested to see how this goes. Armor wise, again, it has got actual armor plates on it, but it is not really very well armored. So again, it is a boat I'm kind of interested in and kind of just want to play around with a bit. So I will see you all next time. Have a good day. This is me, Screezilla, out. Bye bye.